About that breaking news before the break, we are just learning that a judge has denied another one of rapper Sean Diddy Combs' requests to be released on bail. Remember, he's behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, waiting for his trial to get started. This for us. We were waiting for this decision. We got it in now. What do we know?
All right. Well, it's 5 pages. And the takeaway here is that the judge is saying that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. And that was what New York prosecutors were saying. I was in court twice last week, and I listened to these prosecutors say that he was a danger to the community. And they showed that video, that surveillance video of him from 2016, brutally beating his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, saying that he has a propensity to violence, and that alone is a reason why we cannot agree to the proposed bail package. Now, his team had offered $50 million, a home of his in Miami as collateral, and they said that he would live in an apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side, monitored by 24-hour security, that he would only talk to his attorneys, that he would only have, certain family members on a pre-approved list, and that, he would actually be under stricter conditions than he is at the jail in Brooklyn. But clearly, this is the third time.
Yeah.
This judge not buying it.
What was Diddy like in court? You were there twice last week. What was his demeanor like?
I mean, he was smiling on Friday, turned around and looked at his children. All of his children were there except for his infant child. His mother was there. He looked a little thinner. He looked a little worse for wear. But he has seemed upbeat and positive. And a few days earlier on Wednesday, so a week ago today, his legal team had a win, because his team was able to say that New York prosecutors wrongly obtained 16 pages of notes from his jail cell during a routine sweep, that it had his defense strategy, it had witnesses that they planned to call at the criminal trial in May, and the judge agreed that those should have been protected under attorney-client privilege. So there was a feeling today among reporter friends of mine and people in the building here that, maybe there's a chance that the judge, given he's taking several days to think about this, he asked for both sides to write a letter, that he might release him. But this is the third time. His team were waiting for a response from his legal team. They could appeal again. But we were talking to Danny Savalos earlier, and he said, they would have to propose something new and different to potentially be successful for a fourth attempt.
You wouldn't expect to see that headline, Shah. After a stunning incident within prison walls, Diddy, the music mogul known for his extravagant lifestyle, private parties, an empire that defined an age, is apparently pleading for mercy. He was once acclaimed as the king of hip-hop, but is now trapped in a tornado of shame and desperation. Let's get started on this captivating tale that has everyone wondering how we got here.
Tonight, we are hearing from Diddy for the first time since a disturbing video from 2016 surfaced, showing the superstar violently assaulting his then-girlfriend. Sean Combs says he's disgusted by his own actions and not asking for forgiveness. Adrian Broaddus has more, with a warning that some of what you're about to see is hard to watch.
I'm so sorry.
Tonight, a 67-second apology from Sean Combs.
But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
Diddy publicly denied all the allegations against him, but now?
I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help.
Ventura filed a lawsuit against Combs in November, stating that around March of 2016, at a former Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Mr. Combs became extremely intoxicated and punched Miss Ventura in the face, giving her a black eye. It was settled less than 24 hours later. Today, Ventura's attorney responding, Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt.
It's an admission likely without a lot of consequence.
Could this video mean anything for future cases?
If Diddy is sued civilly or prosecuted for other crimes, then it might be possible to get these videos into evidence.
The LA District Attorney says the case is outside the statute of limitations.
I'm committed to be a better man each and every day.
Are for people who are genuinely sorry, not for deviants whose life purpose has been to wreak havoc on everyone around them. Adrian Broaddus, NBC.
Imagine this: a man who used to walk the red carpet and run entire boardrooms is suddenly surrounded by cold, hard walls and a completely other type of crowd. The reports pouring out of the prison are riveting, but they are also shady. Even Diddy's most devoted fans are in disbelief about what transpired during that tumultuous altercation and, more significantly, what this means for a man whose reputation has already suffered greatly as a result of the alleged jump.
From his $48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns, just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention
and conceal his conduct.
He is not the first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal criminal trials, called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some of the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants. 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I've had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark is a federal defense attorney who's been there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Occupy the streets until they get heat.
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
I understand how cold it must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city.
Let's go back in time to see how Diddy, a legendary character, got into jail in the first place. Fans and critics were both astonished by his arrest, which was linked to L's claims of grave wrongdoing.
Let's rewind for a moment to understand how Diddy, a figure larger than life, ended up in prison in the first place. His arrest, tied to allegations of serious misconduct, shocked fans and critics alike.
Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. March 2016 incident at the LA hotel that I mentioned earlier, a member of the hotel security staff intervened, and Combs attempted to bribe the staff member with a stack of cash to make sure that what happened was kept quiet. And as the indictment alleges, in late 2023, after public allegations were made about Combs' crimes, he and others pressured witnesses and victims to stay silent, including by making phone calls to witnesses and victims. Who had attempted to flee. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced Here are some of the items that we recovered during the searches. As you can see here, this is a drum magazine, large capacity, and it contains, I believe, 59 rounds. I mentioned as well, we recovered 3 AR-15s. This is a close-up shot of one of the AR-15s, and you can see right here, the serial number has been thoroughly defaced. Another picture of more ammunition and parts of 2 AR-15s right there. Now, I want to be clear. Or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that.
This wasn't a small accident. From the outside, it appeared that Diddy would survive the storm, but prison is a great equalizer. No one is spared, not even a millionaire, and the charges were serious enough to tear away the layers of power and influence he had painstakingly established over decades.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors." Diddy's lawyers had argued that he had made good faith efforts by showing up in New York, ready to surrender to face these charges, but prosecutors said that he could not be trusted, that he has a history of trying to intimidate witnesses, including some who are going to be witnesses in this case. They urged the judge to remand him. She did, and when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be released.
Let's return to the altercation. Although eyewitness reports are hazy, this is what we have discovered. What is even more shocking is the sheer audacity of it all. Diddy isn't just any prisoner, he's a public figure with influence that goes well beyond those walls, and in the heat of the moment, none of that mattered. The incident began as a heated argument between Diddy and a group of inmates. Words turned into shoves, and before anyone could intervene, fists flew. The aftermath was brutal. Diddy reportedly suffered multiple injuries and had to be escorted to the prison infirmary.
Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs will try for the 3rd time to get bail today, while happened earlier today. Alex, there was already a hearing earlier this week looking at notes taken out of Sean Combs' cell. How could that impact his chances of bail? His team says that raiding his cell, monitoring his calls, is not allowed and not fair to allow him to prep for a trial.
You know, it'll be interesting to see if this ends up happening. We just got out of this hearing, nearly 2 hours long, and they only talked about these notes at the very beginning. They discussed essentially whether or not they said the word legal on them, and there was a bit of a discrepancy from the defense. Essentially, they backtracked on this even just a little bit. Essentially, he has these binders, legal pads that, according to the photographs from the raid on his cell, did not say the word legal. All of a sudden, now they do. And the defense couldn't exactly say when the word legal was written. And that matters because if it said legal on any of these notes, that is part of attorney-client privilege. Those are things that should not have been taken out of his cell. So there is a big question about that. But Nate, the bigger issue here now is he going to get out? As of tonight, he is still going back to his jail cell. But next week, we will know whether or not he is going to be able to get out until his trial. So the big discussion here, according to the government, is can they trust him? He has proposed a whole laundry list of things that he's willing to do if they'll let him out. Things like 24/7 security, things like not speaking to anybody, not having internet access, phone access, unless it's through this 24/7 security company. But the government and pretrial services, who is separate from the prosecution, they're not buying it. They're saying that they cannot trust Sean Combs to not follow the law or to not follow the rules that he has even set out for himself. They say because he's already broken the rules that the department, the Bureau of Prisons, and his own counsel have laid out for him within a jail cell. So they're essentially saying if he can't do it there, how could he do it in the comfort of an apartment? They had tried to get him released to Star Island, his home on Star Island right in Miami. because it's an island and there's a dock there, the judge immediately said absolutely not, because in theory he could, escape that way.
Everyone is now wondering why Diddy was singled out. Some believe it was envy, since a man of his size entering the criminal justice system is sure to draw attention, both positive and negative, while others believe it was a question of power dynamics. Maybe Diddy tried to make his point in a way that some people didn't like, but whatever the reason, one thing is certain: the once untouchable mogul is now exposed, vulnerable, and begging for some sort of peace.
It's a flight risk, but that is a concern. So what his defense team has now proposed instead is bringing him to an Upper East Side apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment, where they say they would have 2 security guards inside of his apartment at all times, 1 downstairs. Again, the judge has not really said whether or not he is keen on this. He didn't really disclose if he's leaning one way or another, but he did ask a lot of questions about what that would look like. Again, the government not buying it, as well as pretrial services, which is the organization, the department that would have to make sure that everything was on the up and up.
Yeah, Alex, I wonder also, whether there was discussion of that now infamous video back from 2016 of Combs beating his girlfriend at the time, Cassie, the entertainer. Did that get discussed at all in the hearing today?
It did, because the defense is saying that the prosecution basically took the video that CNN originally published and gave it to the judge in that exact form, which is that it was edited down and they say out of order. They say essentially that the video ends with Cassie being dragged back to the room. They say that's not how it happened. They say it's important to know that that is not how it happened. But according to the defense, they say, or according to the government rather, they say it doesn't really matter, because what you can see is what happened there. Her getting beaten up. Defense maintains that that wasn't the case. They maintain that the fight actually happened because he was just trying to get his phone and clothing back. But even still, this video was even used today in the discussion about how violent they believe Sean Combs is and why he cannot be released on bail.
Yeah, Alex, I read about 90% politics all day long, but I mean, this is one of the stories that, breaks through, especially coming from the entertainment industry. Such a big entertainer for such a long time. Safe to say that this story not going anywhere anytime soon. National correspondent Alex Miller, live in New York. Thanks for the insight.
Even more intriguing is the way Diddy is managing this new phase of his life. Rumors indicate that he is frantically trying to patch things up and steer clear of more conflicts. According to sources, he has been attempting to use connections and favors to get out of difficulty by promising protection. However, in a nation where survival frequently depends on physical strength, charm and money may truly make all the difference.